Weasels. What's up?
I don't even have my sticks. I can't even do a garden
What's happening,
weasel.
everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. My name is Jeremy Steinkohler. I'm here with my great friends Bart Robley and Chip Ritter, and we are three-quarters of the Drummers Education Connection, minus Rick Stojak, who is not with us today, but we'll be back next week. Hey, Rick, hope you can join us maybe a little later. That'd be great. If not, no worries. We know you got stuff going on today. We are so excited to be here as we are every week. We come here every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock Pacific time for about an hour, and we hang out and we talk about drums, and we interview drummers, and we interview industry people, and we geek out about equipment, and we talk about things related to teaching and performing and studying and getting better and being the best versions of ourselves as musicians, as people that we can be, in the hope that we can help you do the same. Speaking of helping people, if you're interested in supporting what we do, we have a Patreon page. Chip will put the link in the chat. And if you click on that, you can support us with a real, even just like a $1 donation, $5, cup of coffee. If you appreciate what we do and this is of value to you, it would really help us out quite a bit. And you get free stuff from us for donating to Patreon. You get our books and our videos. So you can even get lessons with us.
Nice segue. Nice segue, by the way. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Let's see. Today, we're going to talk about how to find the right band for you. Not for Bart. Bart already found his right band. Not for Chip, not for me. How to help you find the right band for you. So this is something that's come up a lot with my students. I'm not talking about the very, beginners, but I forgot about good things.
Dude, I was just gonna put in the text good things.
Oh, good things. All right. Sorry, y'all. Let's give us just 1 minute here to do our weekly routine here, where we talk about what's going on that's good in our lives, because it's fun to focus on the positive stuff. There's so much negativity out there in the world, so let's give us a chance to focus on some positive things, share what's going on with us. Chip, what's happening, buddy?
Man, my good thing is I'm going to Las Vegas next week with my friend Kelly, and we're going to tear up the town, man.
Beautiful.
We're going to go see Ringo Starr's All-Star Band with Greg
the
Blue Man Group, and Cirque du Soleil.
Oh, super fun.
Dude, that's badass. Where are you seeing Ringo at?
The Venetian.
Nice. Oh, dude, are you going to gamble, awesome. Chip?
I'm possibly going to gamble, and probably going to find a Wheel of Fortune slot machine and hit it.
All right. Put a quarter in there for me and a quarter for Bart. See what happens.
I will.
Bart, what's happening with you? What's good with you, buddy?
Everything is great. We still trying to find a home for those two pit bulls that we rescued, but they're doing really good. They haven't eaten the couch or anything yet. They've eaten their own beds, but that's it. And they're just wonderful animals, and we love them to death, but we're trying to find them a home. So if anybody is interested in a beautiful little 2-ish year old pit bull we named Savannah, she is just awesome. And then the mother, we called her Anna. She is a wonderful animal and just the most mellow dog in the world. Savannah she's a little more rambunctious, but man, they're a lot of fun. So that's a good thing. And then tomorrow morning, I got an early morning flight, flying to Cincinnati or to Chicago, then to Cincinnati, and we'll be playing 2 shows in Ohio, and then 2 shows at the Lincoln Amphitheater in Lincoln, Indiana. So we're looking forward to that. Got a couple of shows. So I'm going to go out there and play some music and have a good time, make a couple of bucks. What about you, Jeremy? What's good in your life? What's going on?
I got a bunch of good stuff. So I'll start with my own things, which are I have 2 album release shows coming out in June for the Erica Oba Trio. We just finished wrapping up our first album together. It sounds amazing. I can't wait to share it with you guys. I'll play it as soon as I have the masters. And that's really cool. One in San Francisco, one in Oakland. And then the other good things related to Evan, my son, he's decided on where he's going to college. He's going to Northwestern University in just north of Chicago. Super excited about that. And his jazz high school big band and combo both of the groups that he's in and kind of stars in won the California State Jazz Championships, first place, both groups.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
And yeah, thank you. Very exciting. And his studio band, which is part of the California Jazz Conservatory community program, so sort of elite all-star band of high schooler kids, they just won a Downbeat award for best.
Really?
Yeah. So, and his combo won outstanding performance. So he's kicking ass, and things are good.
Dude, that was such a pleasure when we went up there for Deck Day to meet Evan and Michelle and to get to see Evan perform. And I tell you, man, you were like, he said, yeah, he's going to college to become a jazz pianist. And he sits down and plays. I'm like, what are they going to teach him?
It's so funny.
Oh my God, he kicked ass, man. Yeah, that guy can play. Oh my God.
Yeah. Someone else said that to me too. Like, well, he already knows how to play jazz. What's he going to?
Yeah. Was he going to go there and teach? Right.
Well, he'll learn some things, you know. Anyways, that's all good stuff. So back to our topic of the day, which is how to find the right band for you. I've had a handful of students who have been playing for some number of years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, and they struggle to find themselves the right situations to play in. Yeah. And they end up in these bands that frequently, you know, whether it's over 6 months or a year or two, they end up not happy, frustrated, feel like they wasted their time. Maybe some bridges get burned from them or you know, to them. Mm-hmm. And they come to me and they're like, why is it so hard for me to find the band that I'm looking for? So I thought this would be a great thing to talk about today, share all our experiences of playing in bands over the last 40 years or whatever it is we've done, and solicit your responses. If you're watching today, we'd love to hear about your experiences. Or if you have questions about this or input, we'd love to hear from you about what you want to share or what you want to ask. So let me ask you guys this. You know, is there such thing as the right band for you?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I really do think there is such a thing as the right band. I think that you have to kind of look at what it is that you're trying to achieve musically and what it is that you want to do career-wise if you want to be in a band. But yeah, I definitely think there's the right band out there for people. What about you, Chip?
I think so. I think it's a process. It's not just like a quick snap decision that you make. It's feeling out the people and the vibe and looking for that right situation that makes you feel fulfilled musically.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I think it's very much like finding a partner. You know, you go through life dating people and having relationships, and you know, you kind of, hopefully, if you're fortunate, end up in the one that feels like this is the best fit, and it brings you happiness, brings out the best version of yourself, and you do the same for your partner. And I think that can happen with your band. And like you say, there's these other things to consider, like what is the trajectory of the band? What are the goals of the band? Do we want to be professional? Do we want to be recording? Do we want to be touring? Do we want to just be playing in bars? Do we want to rehearse every week, but play once a month? You know, and I think that's one of the most important pieces of the puzzle, is to figure out for yourself, first of all, what do you want? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. What's going to make you happy?
Right. And it's okay that you may not know that right in the beginning. And part of the, you know, it's like, what do you want in a partner when you're 18? I don't know. You know, like you learn that as you go. And from the bad relationships, you learn what you don't want and what you do want in the good relationships. And hopefully they get better and better, and you get closer and closer to the right fit. But I think the clearer you are about what it is that you want, what your goals are, the more likely you're going to find that to begin with, right?
Right.
You got to put that out there to the universe, if you like, or have the vision for what it is you're trying to get to in order to get there. Otherwise, you're just kind of a pinball bouncing around from band to band, and you know, it's unlikely. You may get lucky, but it's unlikely, you know, to find.
One of the things that I have to say in regards to that is that I think, you're equating it to a relationship and a marriage or a partnership, cohabitating together, what have you. And I completely agree with that, because this has been a common thread with everybody that we've interviewed and anybody that I've ever talked to off of the show, anybody that's a professional musician. I think it's taken for granted. There's a point where you can play your instrument, right? There's just that point that you can play your instrument, but can you live with these people? Can you go on the road with them? Can you play a gig with them and go have, a hamburger before the show or after the show and not want to kill each other? And believe me, I've got a lot to say about that. But I think that's an important piece of the puzzle. That's a big part of it. And much like a relationship, you're going to have to put up, and before I even point the finger at somebody else, which I'm not going to point a finger, but I would say if you are going to point a finger and you're like, gosh, this person drives me crazy because of A, B, C, and D. Well, you're driving them crazy because of your A, B, C, and D. We're all, a bunch of, people or humans, and we're not always going to see eye to eye. We're not always going to agree. And can you do that? Are you able to do that? Because finding 2, 3, 4, or 5 people to get them to agree on a common goal is not an easy thing to do. It's just not.
My experience has been that I've always been right, and everybody else in the band has always been wrong.
That's what I'm trying to make everybody understand in my band.
Yeah. See, right.
See, and but if you think like that, you're not going to get very far.
Right. That's right. So what do you guys? Let's start with this. What do you guys think are some of the things that you should can or should take stock of before you go seeking a band? Like, in terms of, okay, I've got a list. Chip likes to make lists. What is the list? What should I make a list of for me to sort of help me figure out what it is I'm looking for?
I think writing down your goals is huge. Writing down what you would like to have in a band, items that I don't like, I would like the band to be this. I would like the band to be that. Writing down a specific list of things and qualities that you want to see in the other person's.
Can you give me some examples?
Would help you.
Can you give us some examples of the kinds of things that somebody might think about?
I would like to contribute to writing the music. I would like to be in a situation where I contribute to writing the music, or I'm a songwriter as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right. Or it could be, I don't want to write the music.
Yeah. Or I want to be a hired gun.
Right. It could be that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about money?
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead, Chip.
No, I was just going to say, you could write down, I want the band to pay for itself. I want the band to be successful. I want the band to be like-minded with the same kind of goals in mind. Right.
You could say, I want to make X number of dollars per gig, or you could say, I don't care how much I make per gig. I want whatever the band makes to be put back into the band fund, so we all feel like we're in this together and building something, and it's not about making money. Or, it could be, I need to make X number of dollars to feel like this is worth my time.
Right. Yeah. I have a student right now who is he's really, kicking some ass, and he finally got into like his band that he feels like he's in, and it is actually become 2 bands, an original band and a cover band. Each one is led by a different member of the same group, if you will. And he's so elated to get out there. He's a retired guy and actually make a little bit of money back. And they're playing clubs, so he's not making tons of money. He's making $75, $100 a gig, but he's like, finally I'm paying for my drumsticks, or I'm paying for some drum heads, or I'm putting gas in the car. He was in a group before, and this is something that I think needs to, in a list like Chip is talking about, or it needs to be discussed. If you're going to put the money back into the band and grow the band, then great. do that. Okay, we made $300 at this gig, and we're going to put that $300 into, we're gonna get a website put together, and we're going to get some t-shirts made up, and we're going to get whatever we're going to do, and write it down and have some receipts and have accounting for it, and make sure that when you make that decision, that if there's 3 people in the band, okay, Jeremy, Chip, and I are here. We have this band, and we all say that we're going to do that. But Chip is like, man, I'm kind of tight. I can use that $50, whatever. Or I'm like, gosh, guys, it's a little tight right now. I got to keep the lights on. I need that $50. You got to make sure that everybody is able to say that,
right,
and put it out there, because if not, I think that carries into what you were talking about, where people, you've had students that get dismayed and they burn bridges, and because there's this resentment that builds up, that it's like, well, God, we're putting all this money back into the band. I'm working my butt off. I do way more work than that guy, and I'm not making any money. That stuff happens.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
does.
The division of labor, is everybody in it sort of on the same? Are we dividing up tasks,
Absolutely.
or is it this person's band and that's their job, and I'm more just here to play drums?
That's huge situation with me in a metal band that went to Seattle to get signed. I was working part-time at the taco time, burning my hands at 7 a.m, and then getting off work, taking the bus into town to rehearsal, and then taking the bus and paying for a big cover to go mingle with people and network. And I would bring home the numbers and the cards and pass out the flyers, and I'd come home and the bass player would be laying on the couch watching TV, and I'd be like, what are we doing here, dude? What's the purpose here? And it was a very, very huge source of frustration for me in that situation, because I didn't feel that everybody was pulling the same amount of weight, and it really turned into a resentful situation.
Yep. I've had a very similar situation where it was unequal. There was an expectation that it was equal, but what people weren't equally committed.
And that's another reason bands need to communicate.
Yeah, and on that note, the communication thing and the work thing, to any young drummer or any young musician that sees this or watching this, again, if you're upset because, like, Chip's upset at the bass player because he comes home and he's laying on the couch, I advise everybody, always check themselves too, because it's really easy to think that you're carrying the labor, the most of the labor, and you're carrying most of the load, when 2 other people or 3 other people are doing work behind the scenes as well. And I think that it's easy to forget about the job that the other guy's doing, because I've been there. I've done that before, where I'm like, God, I'm doing this, and this, and these other people aren't doing things, when in fact they were. And I have been in situations where there's been people that just sat around on their butts and didn't do anything, and that gets a little bit tiresome
very quickly.
But it kind of, sometimes it weeds itself out, or sometimes it turns into a gigantic explosion, which it does. But again, that always comes back to people. You're dealing with people.
Right.
And I have to say this, I do believe, and I've stated this before, and maybe this will segue in the next thing. I think that leadership is everything, man. The person that's spearheading this thing, they've got to be in the front of the boat going, come on, guys, this is where we're going. And you have to follow that person. You have to, there has to be, so you have to put the ego aside. You have to put everything aside. And you also have to be able to go, and do what it is that they want you to do,
Agree. Let's finish this list off with some quick sort of one word answers.
Okay.
So we can sort of like get people thinking about this stuff. I've got frequency of gigs and frequency of rehearsals. There's a thing to like figure out what you want, what's going to work for you, and is this the right band for me?
Right.
One of my students came to me and said, "This band's rehearsing way too much for the how few gigs we play."
Yeah.
What else?
I think again, touring on the road. Am I going on the road? Am I going to go do what I want to do with this band, or am I just going to sit around while and try to get it to happen while another person goes off and does other things. You know, are we going to go on the road? Are we going to make some money? That's
you
a
may
big
not,
problem.
you may want to, or you may not want to go on the road.
Yeah, you may not. You know, are we going on the road all the time?
Right or wrong. You
Yep.
can fall on either side of any of these questions. It's just good for you to be clear about what it is you're looking for. Chip,
Yeah.
you got anything else?
Are my ideas going to be considered for the band creatively?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
is my input going to be weighed as much as the leader?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it, do we have equal say, or does one person have final veto power about musical decisions?
Yeah. That's
I
a good
think
question.
that, yeah, I think if you're in a band where it's a, if you're in a band, I think it's much like DEC here. I think it should be a democracy where we all kind of go, yeah, that works.
You know what?
And vote on it. I think.
I don't necessarily agree. I think that
Okay.
that works sometimes, and that's
Oh, yeah.
And other times, like, I play for people. It's this dude's band. He hires me. He pays me well. I don't need, he values my creative input, but he makes the final decisions, and that's clear, and I'm perfectly fine with it. So,
and I agree with that 100%. If somebody, bless you, Chip, I agree with that. If that's the case, when I played with, remember I told you guys about that. I played with that Star Trek band, the Neil Norman Cosmic Orchestra, right? Neil, he had final say in everything. And then Tim Russ, who was kind of the star of that show, same thing. He would ask us our input, hey, what do you guys think of this? What about, and it could be something simple. What if we open with this song and then this and close with this song, or we swapped them, and everybody would throw in their inputs, and no, I think we're going to do it this way. Okay, fine. Whatever you want, man. And it was never once ever, okay, cool. You're the one that's making the decision. And we would go with that.
Who's making the decision about which gigs the band takes? Is that a group discussion, or is it one person hustling and you're just expected to play all the gigs that are booked, right?
Yeah.
Is there a radius about how far you want to go for a gig? Does it have to be within half hour, or you're willing to drive 2 hours for a gig?
Exactly. That's another reason it's so important to find out what you want and decide what's going to be your happy place and where you're looking for, what expectations you have for the band.
And all these things we're talking about, they you may write them down and you have your things, and there's some things you feel more strongly about and some things not as strongly about, and that's cool too. Like, you find a band and it checks all the boxes except, they want to drive an hour and a half for all these gigs, and maybe you decide, you know what, everything else is really cool. I'm willing to put up with that because it seems like a really good fit, and driving doesn't bother me. Whatever it is. So you just got to figure that out. We're not suggesting that this list is like, now you go out and you find your perfect dream date. Like, that you may, but the reality of it is, just like with people, you're going to find people that check some of the boxes, but not necessarily all the boxes. And then it turns out there's other boxes you didn't know about that you learn about. And so, being flexible on your part is a really critical piece of being happy, I think. If you're too rigid about the way things have to be all the time, like Bart is, then you're not gonna be happy no matter where you are in, unless you're running the whole show. I'm totally teasing Bart.
You heard? I know.
Yeah,
I know.
I know.
You hurt my feeling. Oh, you did. You hurt my feeling. Forget it. I'm out of here.
Rick says, I want the band that pays the most. Well, there it is for Rick. So he's pretty clear. It's all about the bread, right? And that's fine.
Yep.
That's better.
Yep.
Good to be clear about that, Rick. You're not going to be playing in my band.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what about this? Because here's one that I've come across this, and I've dealt with, like my student that I was talking about earlier, he had a situation where the band wasn't paying him. They were putting it back into the band supposedly, but they weren't. The band leader was a bass player, and she was taking all the money, and everything she said she was putting it into never showed up. She was like, I'm keeping control of it, and I'm paying for the website. And it's like, well, where's the website? Well, we're working on it, and it never came to be,
Right.
Stuff like that. Where do you draw the line where, okay, I'm being taken advantage of right now because my generosity or my, I'm putting in this much into this band, and certain things happen and I'm just no more, I'm done. Either you walk away or you just don't do those things anymore. What have you ever found yourself in a situation like that? Either one of you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I've quit a band when there was a transgression that was over the line for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I can share the story. I don't know if it's that interesting, but there are certain things that make it clear to me this is not. And now, I'll tell you this. I feel like I'm 53 now, and I'm so much more in touch with what I know works for me and doesn't work for me than I was when I was 24.
Right.
Right? I would have put up with a whole bunch of crap when I was younger that I
Oh
wouldn't,
yeah.
that I won't stand for now. And I can see the writing on the wall so much more clearly and easily now. So, I think about some of the things I dealt with that I just wouldn't deal with anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it. Sorry, I got off track. What was the question?
The question was like,
Where do you
when
draw
you
the
feel
line?
like, where do you draw the line where you feel like you're getting taken advantage of?
Yeah, I mean, there was a band I used to play in, and it was sort of the first sort of major band I played in here in the Bay Area, and it was fairly well known at the time. But we rehearsed almost every week for a couple of years, and I think in the last year that the band played, I looked back at the calendar and I saw that we had 7 gigs
in a year.
In a year for 45 rehearsals or something like that, and I just was like, what the hell, like this is way out of whack, and why am I spending time, and I don't want to rehearse just to rehearse. And yeah, and then there was one of those that band booked the gig, and I showed up for the gig, and I made changes to my plans because I was at a friend's wedding, and I left early and got there, and the gig had been canceled, and I was never told. And I was like, that's it.
Yeah. What about you, Chip?
Well, I was in a situation with a band that I was playing with, and they were paying my rent. We had 4 to 6 gigs a week, and it was paying my rent, and I had my electricity bill due, and I was looking forward to this thing. We were going to go up to Durango, Colorado. And the day before we were supposed to leave, I got a call from the band leader saying that we're not going to go on the trip. He told the club that the van broke and that we can't make it. And he said, I did that because I looked at the numbers and it would just be breaking even for me. And I remember thinking, it's like, my electric bill is not going to get paid now because you felt that this was not worth it. And you're calling me the day before. Right. And that was like the line that they crossed, and I quit the band then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've had situations where, I didn't quit a band, but I just kind of came to the conclusion that if I wasn't going to work with certain people within the group anymore, because there was always an excuse why something wasn't right. And this segues into the next into the next, I guess, maybe topic. Yeah. Either there was always an excuse why something wasn't right, and there was always an excuse why that person's gear wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would always be spun on me because at the time I could hear really well with my in-ear monitors, and they were not wearing in-ears, and they were having trouble hearing. And then it was always spun on me. Well, that's not fair because you can hear, and you can hear all the mistakes. It's like, well,
oh my God,
if I can hear them, the people out there can hear them too.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's my fault. It's just so narcissistic. And so there is a point where it's, I'm not gonna put like if every gig I played my snare drum and the snare drum fell over, right? I've never had a snare drum fall over, but I'm playing along and my snare drum fell over. Like every gig, it just fell on its side. There would be a point where somebody in the band would go, "Hey, Bart, why don't you buy a new snare stand?" And that would be me. I wouldn't, look, stuff breaks. Sometimes a boom arm goes and collapses on stage, and it sucks when it happens, but it doesn't happen every gig. And when it does happen, I don't make an excuse for the damn cymbal stand. I'm like, guys, sorry,
Right.
it happened. It won't happen again,
Right. What about when the stage parted like the Red Sea and swallowed the drum set whole, like that happened to you, Bart?
Oh, dude. Okay. Here, I'm going to set you. See, now I'm on my soapbox. Chris Brady said this.
What do you mean now?
Right. Damn, I'm
Bart,
taking it hard today.
Let's sit down off your soapbox for a minute, will you?
Right, exactly. I was I had a drum riser just collapse, and the drum set that I was playing, I mean, it's lived in flight cases. There wasn't a scratch on this kit, and there was a big old gouge on the floor, Tom, and I was like, oh man, and I told Chris Brady, and he goes, can you imagine if that would have been a guitar player and his guitar would have fallen over and there would have been a scratch on the guitar? It'd have been the show would have been over. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it does happen. But, anyway, I didn't quit the band because of that.
Hey, Bart, are we going to tell everybody about Center Stream now?
Subtlety is your best thing. Yes, Chip, we are going to talk about CenterStream now. Thank you. Yeah, CenterStream Publishing. We want to thank CenterStream. They are absolutely, a fantastic publisher. I have a number of things published on CenterStream Publishing. This happens to be one of them. This is a piece that I have published. It's ASAP Drum Rudiments. It is the original 26 drum rudiments. It also has audio on it. You can download that at the Hal Leonard website. And on the back of the piece of music, it has an original composition of mine called The Attack of Mark the Shark. And it's a little snare drum etude that I wrote, and it is kind of in the style of, or it's influenced by the NARD solos, National Association of Rudimental Drummers. That piece of music was signed to Crucial Music for licensing in television and movies and just commercial use. So nice. Kind of a fun little piece of music. So that's CenterStream Publishing. We want to thank them for sponsoring the show. Go to CenterStream and check out their catalog. It's not just drum stuff. They have everything. They have a new banjo book coming out and a new mandolin book coming out. He has a lot of history books in there, history of instruments, history of styles of music, and it's a great publisher. It's a great publisher. So check out CenterStream Publishing.
And if you're interested in potentially becoming a sponsor of the Drummers Education Connection, just reach out to us in our private chats, and we'll be happy to promote your dog grooming business on the deck.
Nice. Nice. Exactly.
Okay, now I got something to say about dog grooming businesses. Everybody get out of my way. Yeah. So anyway, back to so that's, I mean, I think those are kind of some of the draw the line things, Sure. I think those are the draw the line.
Okay.
Things. So what about excuses? What about excuses all the time?
Oh, let's get into some brass tacks here. So thinking about like logistics and I've figured out all these ideas, these things that are important to me. I know what I'm looking for stylistically. We didn't even talk about that, but of course that's huge, right? What kind of music you want to play? Is it original music? Is it covers? Or balance of both. Okay, so you figured all this out, and then you start to search the ads, right? You're looking on Craigslist. Where else can you look besides Craigslist, first of all?
I think
they still have newspapers. Sometimes they have classifieds if they still have a newspaper.
What's a newspaper?
What's that?
I don't know.
Yeah. So Facebook groups.
I think social media is probably the place to go right now to find a gig. And to network yourself with other musicians. The world's gotten so much smaller. And I think that at that point too, you have to ask yourself the question, okay, I'm trying to find a band, and there's a band in Florida and they're looking for a drummer. Do I want to relocate to Florida? Do I want to fly to gigs? Are they going to fly me to get, all those things, but
Yeah.
that's
So
social media is a big one.
There's a couple websites that are really good for that. There's bandmix.com. Search your local musician listings, and where's all kinds of bands put their ads up, and find a band. And I mean, if you get on Google and look, you'll find some services that'll help you find a band.
Yeah.
Right.
And many of them are free. So like on Facebook alone, you can do like, whatever, rock musicians in Memphis, Tennessee. And I guarantee you'll find a group of rock dudes in Tennessee, or Bay Area jazz musicians. There's like 4 different ones of those. Musicians seeking musicians in Boise, right? Like you'll find groups for everything, and you just start, looking and posting.
Prepare yourself to get yourself out there. You got to put yourself out there.
That's the other, putting yourself out there. That's so important. It's unlikely that the right gig is just going to sort of like blow by your window and you'll catch it. I mean, you got to actively take steps. You have to be proactive to find situations. You have to put yourself out there. So you go to jam sessions. You go to hear local music. That's a big one. Go to hear go to hear bands that you're interested in, that you like, and then talk to the musicians afterwards, and don't go up there and try to steal the drummer's gig, but you say, hey, you guys sound awesome. I love what the music you're playing. I'm a drummer. I just moved here, or I've been here for several years, and I would love to get, I don't know if anybody's interested in getting together to play or whatever. Just start making a connection. Don't ask.
Get out there and shake up the bushes.
Yeah, right. Just make a connection with people. Just make a connection. Go to their shows, support their music, and they'll be happy to talk to you.
I recently had a student that this is so cool that this happened for her. She was wanting to get into a band, and we talked about all these things, and I kept telling her, I was like, go to a local, an open mic night, go to a jam night. She went to a couple of them and she sat in, but then she was walking by, much like Chip and I were doing the other day when we were up in the Bay Area. We walked by she was walking by a martial arts studio, like that one you and I walked by, Chip, and there was this guy playing a drum in there. And so she stopped and looked at it, and she went in and she gets to talking to the people. And it's this thing called the lion dance. And what the lion dance is a dance that there's a drummer and a cymbal player. And they do this dance that is during a kung fu thing, and it's during a religious ceremony. And she is Asian, and she really wanted to get more into her culture. She wanted to get more into that. So she signed up for this thing. And so now she's like one of the principal drummers in this thing. And it wasn't like it wasn't a thing where it was like, okay, I'm going to get into a band. This is a complete, hey, I'm doing something for a martial arts thing, for my culture, and for a religious thing, for my spirituality. And I thought that was really cool. So I think sometimes thinking outside of the box a little bit too is something that is also needed.
Yeah. Out here in the Bay Area, we have these performing arts camps that you can go to. Fantastic way to meet people. There's a jazz camp. There's a rock and roll camps for adults, for kids. You can look into that in your area if you happen to have one of those kinds of things, or programs that run year round, like Bandworks. Like here, just the program I run, we started this exactly for this reason, to enable people to connect with one another and find musicians to play with, because we knew how challenging that was. So we started Bandworks, and now we have 35 to 40 bands every quarter, and it's like a clearinghouse. It's a community, and that's what you're trying. Nice thing to get into, and people hear other bands and jam with other people from different bands and play in their bands, then play other bands, and it's the way to do it. So there's lots of programs like Bandworks around, School of Rock kinds of things. I hate to promote them because I hate them, but. It's like that, rock stars of tomorrow, whatever.
Now who's on their soapbox?
Exactly. Like I said, I'm always right. And
I didn't say you were wrong. I did not say you were wrong.
So look for those opportunities too for meeting people.
I think that networking thing is also a good place to start. not only like you were saying with the bandworks thing and stuff, a good place to start and meet people, but it's also a good place to check out if you know, okay, stylistically, are these the people I want to play with? And kind of back to what we were saying originally, you know, do I like these people? Are we like-minded? Do we think alike? Are we, you know, are we in the same, you know, mindset? I
Right.
think that's, you know, it's a good place to start.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know where else you can find that a community is around music stores sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You know, the handful of music stores that are still left.
Right.
You know, most of the musicians or the people that work there are players, and they play in bands, and they've got a network, and all the people know each other and know all the bands, and go in there, start making friends with the gals who work at the music shop, and just you know, tell them you're looking for what you're looking for.
They
Right,
also have
exactly.
they also have centers and places where bands jam together, where they have rehearsal studios. And at the rehearsal studios, sometimes there's a bulletin board up with, you know, wanted posters up there, or wanted little flyers that you can go look at, and maybe they're looking for a drummer.
Oh, I thought you meant like wanted posters, like by the police and the FBI.
Yeah.
Those are there too.
Jacob Sosa chimed in. He said, I found that going to jam session and connecting with the house drummer is cool. I just offer my help as such as telling them, hey, if you need a night off, let me know. So that way they don't lose their gig, but also not trying to take their gig. Drummers helping drummers.
I love it. Jacob, really great to hear from you, man. It's been a little while. Great to see you do your thing. You know what I would even recommend is offer to help pack up the drums.
Oh yeah.
You know, like how can I help you? Chip always says, when he calls me, he's like, hey, what can I do for you?
Yep.
And it always makes me feel like Chip's here to help.
There we go.
So, you know, do that first, and then you can say, hey, if you ever need a night off.
Yeah.
And then he always says to me, hey, can I have this snare drum? I really like it.
Yeah, exactly.
I say no.
You say no.
Hard to say no.
It's hard to say no. You know, I think that you're going to, you know, once you kind of figure out who you are as a musician and what it is that you want to achieve, you're going to kind of attract those people as well. One of the things that I was really impressed with, Jeremy, when we came up and did deck days up there and went and saw your band at the Fourth Bore, everybody in your band were great musicians. First of all, they were really, really, really nice people. When we sat in with the band, it just, man, it fit like a glove. They were so nice and so complimentary, and that's who you are as a person. You know, they said, so you're going to attract those type of people. You're going to, what's that saying? You know, you're going to become you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. That's what your personality is. The only thing was the bass player said that you're not always right. She's like, he's not always.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's why I quit that band, actually.
Oh. She was wrong. I'm out of here. No, I mean, and you'll end up attracting those people, and you're going to find the people. If you want to go out and tour, or you don't want to go tour, you want to just be in a band, you're going to find those people. That's what you're going to end up, you know, you're going to gravitate towards that, and they're going to gravitate towards you. Sometimes it takes a while to find those people, though.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
If you get clear on the, I'm sorry,
Tim.
I was just saying, if you get really clear on the why, the how will show up.
There you go.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah. Another piece of advice I can offer is to find people that are already doing what you want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And then befriend them, talk to them, ask them how they got there, you know, ask their advice. You know, Bart's in a touring band that's been together for 25 years. You know, he'd be a great person to talk to if you were considering, you know, going out with this touring band. Yeah, well, I might pick Bart's brain about what his experience has been like, and you know, what are some of the pitfalls that you fell in that I might avoid, or whatever.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that I do talk about with my students, like I guess like the music coaching part of my business is, because I have people want to do that, and I have a million. There really hasn't. I can't think of anything that I haven't seen, and I'm not breaking my arm, patting myself on the back. It's just that I've been in the band for so long, and we've done I mean, the only thing Sam and I joke about this, we all joke about this. The only thing we haven't done as a band is have a hit song. I mean, we've done everything you can do as a band. We've done it. And the only thing we haven't had a song that's actually hit. We have one song that's done really well, got a lot of notoriety, airplay, all that sort of stuff. We just haven't had that hit. And so, yeah, there's a lot to draw from there. And I'm more than happy to share that with you. One of the things that I wanted to say, because Jeremy, you and I both have taken, a couple of the courses with Matt Starr.
Right.
And Matt's a great guy. And he is if any of you guys are looking for anything like that, Matt is a wellspring of knowledge as well. I mean, he plays with Ace Frehley. He plays with, all these, he was with Mr. Big for a while. He's done all this great stuff. And he's a fantastic drummer and a wellspring of knowledge. He said something one time, and this made a lot of sense to me. And I still have to I think about this a lot. He's like, look, you aren't your band. You are your own person. You're not your band. And if you find a band that has have a gig that they play once a month or once every other month, and they're there for 5 years, is that what you want to do? If that's what you want to do, and you want to be in a band that has a gig and plays that gig every week or every month for 5 years, great. It's, great. Go do it. But if you want more than that, and you're staying in that, and you are in that band, and you're staying in that band, you are in a rut that you're never going to get out of, because you'll come up with a million excuses of why to stay in that band. If you want to grow and you want to leave the clubs and you want to play the performing arts centers and the gigs like that, then you have to go for that. Don't get stuck in a rut. So and again, like you said, you can go land on either side of that coin. Maybe you want that band, maybe you don't. Right. One is not right and one is not wrong, but you have to ask yourself that question, seek that out, and then seek out answers of how to get one of those two things. And Matt's a great source to turn to.
Absolutely. Yeah. He does private coaching, one-on-one coaching as well. So if you're interested in that sort of life coaching or how to get to next level, he's a great person to connect with.
Right. And so's Daniel Glass, right? Doesn't Daniel do that stuff? I mean, over and above drum lessons?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Great stuff, man. Really good
but,
stuff.
One of the common threads here is like seek advice, from people who are successful, right? And much of the time they're happy to talk to you because drummers take care of drummers.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and again, when I say this, I'm really kind of talking to myself, okay? Because I'm so guilty of this. You got to remember, there comes a point where you just kind of have to, if you do get in that band and you are doing your thing, do your best to follow the leader. And if you're the leader, then lead the damn band. But if you're not, follow the leader. And then also remember, let's say you're in a band that lasts for 5 years. Rolling Stone magazine years ago did a thing that said that the average band lasts 11 months. So if you're in a band that lasts 5 years and you're working and you're doing, what it is that you want to do, that's a real rare thing. So be thankful for it.
Yeah.
Be very thankful. And don't, you kind of have to come to a point, and this is where I'm saying I have to do this. I have to check myself with this. And that is that we're all grown adults. Just do your gig. And I'm the first one to, well, what do you mean by that? So I have to not do that. And I'm guilty of it,
Think about this, like in actual practice, joining a band, what that experience is like for most people. You answer an ad on whatever, Craigslist or whatever, or pull a tab from the flyer at Guitar Center. You call up, you have a conversation. Maybe they send you some links of their music. Maybe you have another conversation, then you set up an audition. You have the audition, and maybe you talk a little bit with the band, you get to meet them, and then usually after that, it's like, yeah, we'd like to do this again, or you're in the band, or no, man, that just doesn't feel like the best fit. Let's assume you got in the band. You've had what, a total of like a half hour plus the audition of hang time with these people. You don't know them at all, right?
Right.
Like, you really got to take advantage of that time that you spend talking to people to like suss out, is this a good fit for me?
Right.
Also,
Right.
again, that goes back to our stuff in the beginning of the show today. Like, the clearer you are about what you're looking for, more likely you're going to find it, right?
Right.
You know, it's really easy. I'll say this: it's really easy to get into bands, and really hard to get out of them.
Nobody gets out of here alive, man.
I have a friend, a bass player, who is so picky. He's an amazing bass player. I wish you guys could have heard him while you were here. And he says, I've quit more bands than I've joined.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. That's awesome, man.
And
You know, I one thing I'm going to say on that point too is if you do get in the band and you get the gig and you've been asking for the gig and you want the gig and you've been seeking the gig out and it lands finally and you get it, be careful what you ask for, man. Because once you're living with that guy or those people, and again, they have to live with you. You're going to do stuff that drives them nuts. I know I drive my band members nuts. I'm not trying to fool anybody, you know. Jeremy's always right. I'm not. I'm
and now you see how this band works.
Exactly. I'm rarely correct. I'm rarely right, you know, but no, be careful because, you know, you don't want to find yourself, you know, in the middle of a tour and one of the gigs in the dead center of the tour is in a bar in Kansas City and nobody's there and you hate that guy and you you don't want to be there. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be there.
And you know, sometimes you don't know for a while, you don't realize it, but that's what I'm saying. Like, do as much due diligence as you can in terms of your own work on yourself and also on, you know, figuring out who these people are that you're getting into a relationship with. Because like I said, you know, after like an hour of talking, all of a sudden you're in the band, like you don't even know what you're in for. If you have
the band has an ad out and they're saying we're looking for a drummer. There's a reason they're looking for a drummer.
Right, exactly.
It might be innocuous or it might be not innocuous, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
make sure you know what you want.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely make sure and be clear on that. I like Chip's thing, you know, because Chip, you're so detail oriented and you make the lists. And I like that. Know what you want, you know, because if you know what you want, then you're going to be able to find that. You
you have a better chance.
We're also taking for granted that you live in an area where there's enough population density that there are options available to you, right? I mean, if you
live in the middle of Hooverville, Kansas, and you want to get a touring gig,
good luck.
Get the hell out. Go somewhere else.
You know, there's a different, you know, number of bands in, you know, Chicago than there are in, you know, whatever, Trenton, New Jersey, you know, I mean, like
we joke about that. We'll be driving in the middle of nowhere, right? And you'll come across this little town that, like, you know, you could throw a rock over the town and my bass player will look out the window and he'll be like, where's the bands play around here?
Where does the band play?
Yeah, where do all the bands play?
No, the band.
Yeah, where does the band play?
Right.
Guys, we're going to cut out a little bit early here today. Jeremy and I both have to go. It's about 5 minutes to 12, and I've got to get out of here. I know Jeremy does too. Thank you guys for watching. Remember, from now on, we're not streaming live anymore to the Drummers Education group. We are streaming to the Drummers Education Connection public page. That is because of the algorithms changing in Facebook. So you can watch us there or you can watch us on our YouTube channel.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, everybody.
All your input, questions, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys next week. Adios. Sayonara.